Hey guys, this is Luke coming to you with some footage of the Hamilton Khaki flight timer that I just got. There's really no footage of this watch at all online or on YouTube, and even Hamilton's own promotional videos really don't feature any shots of the watch itself in action, which is a real shame. So I figured I'd record some quick impressions, stick it up there for you guys. So I just got this the other day. Again, Hamilton Khaki flight timer. I will be posting a full review. Let me just walk you through some of the features. This is the watch's kind of base state. You can see you just have the date there. Both the digital displays are turned off. I don't know if this is a battery saving mode or anything, but I guess it's for when you don't really need the displays, if you just want it to be a little less busy. In addition, you can, if you hold down the crown for a 2 count, it switches the hands to 8:44 and 45 seconds, which basically gets them right out of the way of the digital displays. So you can, if you're using the chronograph, or if you really just need to focus on those for a little bit, it gets them out of the way, and it's a nice feature to have. So I'll just leave them there while I walk you through these so you can see. Our first feature here is time 1. You can see it's 10 o'clock in the morning. If I hit my bottom right button, it switches me over to the second time zone. And there is a way, I have not read the full manual yet. You really need to read the manual to operate this watch. But there is a way with like a press of 2 buttons here to swap time 1 with time 2, and that does swap over the analog hands as well. So if you're someone who travels a lot between different time zones, that seems like a very nice feature to have. Our next function is our UTC time. Right now it is set on UTC time, which is Greenwich Mean Time. If you actually try to switch this time or the second time zone, it will advance in, to me, kind of random 15-minute increments. I'm not really sure why. You will soon be able to see that for me this watch is very cool, but a lot of these features really go over my head. So I can't tell you why it does that, but it looks like since you can change it, it is functionally a third time zone to track. So if you need that, that's cool too. Here we have our full date. You can see the day is Saturday. The week of the year is here. That's the 19th week of the year, May 10th, 2014. It does have perpetual calendar, so that's nice. This is the alarm. You set it. It's the daily alarm. It'll go off that time every day. This here is the chronograph. Operates really how you think it would. You can do the split laps and everything. Stop it. Reset it. All good. This is your timer. If you hit this, it'll recall what you last timed it for, which for me was 1 minute. I'm going to turn it on here so you guys can get to hear the alarm. This is the actual eponymous flight timer. I do not know how to use this. I'm not a pilot. But this is all operated by this third button up here, and it's actually all this third button does. The movement in this watch is an ETA movement. My understanding is it's the same one in the Tag Aqua Racer. But Hamilton did have some customizations made to it, which basically amounts to this and the features that go along with it. So it's some hardware and some software modifications, which is nice. But for me, really, not something that I'm going to use because I don't fly. Same with this one. You can see it's about a full turn to get between functions here. So you're not going to accidentally switch functions, if it rubs your wrist the wrong way or something. This here is ISA temperature. It has something to do with standards of temperature and altitude. It does not appear to be an actual thermometer, but that's fine because, there's our timer. You can see it switches back to the timer screen, beeps until I hit this, and then it switches back to whatever screen I was on. So that's a very handy feature for the timer. You can set it and forget it, and it'll let you know when it goes off. But so this thing does not seem to be an actual thermometer, but that's fine because there's all sorts of problems with having a thermometer on your wrist anyways due to body heat and everything. Notoriously inaccurate. And then we're back to the regular one. So let me see. You can see here, I'm assuming that the The second hand does not land exactly on the markers. I kind of expect that from a quartz, so it doesn't really bother me. Some of you, that would drive crazy. And there's no guarantee that yours, would or would not hit the second markers. It's just, part of what you get into with quartz, I guess. I'm going to see if you guys can see the backlight here. One little push of the crown shows you the backlight. It actually is pretty bright in the dark. You can see, how much more visible it makes it there. Unfortunately, if you have kids, they will soon learn that just by pressing the crown, it turns the light on, and my daughter is now obsessed with that. So buyer beware if you got kids. They love the backlight. Let me see, what else did I want to talk about here? The display, you can see, is very legible. If you go to like an extreme angle here, no, you're not going to be able to read it. But otherwise, it looks like what it's coated with is a similar coating to what my Amazon Kindle has, which is incredibly legible even in bright light. So it seems like they put a similar anti-reflective coating on the digital screens in here, and I found it very legible in all light conditions. And in the dark, you just press the button and it turns it on. And what's actually pretty cool about that is that you notice that if I press this, the light stays on and the second hand is paused for 5 seconds while the light's on, and then it zooms ahead to where it was. Now, if I press this and I'm scrolling through my functions, if I'm actually doing something, pressing the buttons, messing around, if it's obvious that I'm trying to get something done with this watch, that backlight will stay on until 5 seconds of inactivity. So if I'm actually doing stuff, that backlight is still on, and it's not going to just turn off on me halfway through, set my alarm at night, if that's what I'm doing. Let me see, what else do I want to talk about with this? You can see the markers on the dial. I think they're kind of etched or brushed with vertical lines, so they're very shiny. They catch the light even in very low light conditions, and so you can see there, even though the dial is not loomed, even in low light conditions, you'll be able to see those sparkle and kind of get some sense of where the hands are, because the hands actually do have lume on the tips of them, on the tips of those skeleton hands in the second hand. What I've found is that the lume is extremely bright, but lasts for like 5 minutes. So maybe I just haven't been charging it well or fully or whatever, but if I'm sitting with a bright light and I go to walk up the dark staircase, it's incredibly bright lume on the hands, but like 5 minutes later when I'm going back down the stairs, it's all gone, it's exhausted. So, but you got the backlight with this. You don't really, there's no difficulty telling the time. You'll see the bezel here. If you're familiar with dive watches, you'd expect it to go, 0, 5, 10, 15. Instead, it's 55, 50, 45. That's because this is not a time-elapsed bezel. Like a dive watch, you would move the triangle to the minute hand, and, if the minute hand is now on 5 or 10, 5 or 10 minutes have elapsed. That's a time-elapsed bezel. This is actually a countdown bezel. So I would say it's bidirectional, 120 click, very nice, very crisp. But I would say something like, I want to, count down 10 minutes. So I put the 10 minutes on my minute hand, and then I know when it reaches 0, 10 minutes, it counts down 10 minutes for you. So functionally the same thing as a time-elapsed bezel. Really, you could measure time the same way with both kinds of bezels. So, but that's interesting. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can show you a wrist shot without my camera fuzzing out on me. There we go. So here's a wrist shot. This is a 40 millimeter watch case in diameter, 46 millimeters lug to lug, 13 millimeters in height. I think it wears really well. My wrist is just under 7 inches. It's been shrinking recently, so now it's just under 7 inches. And this wears, to me, much more comfortably than many of the 40 millimeter watches I have that have a 50 millimeter lug to lug, which seems to be the more common proportions. 20 millimeter bracelet size. The original stock bracelet on this is polished on these side links, but I think the guy who owned it before me, or the guy who owned it before him, actually had them brushed. It's very well done. It matches perfectly the texture of the case and the texture of the middle links, and to me is a much more appropriate look for this watch to have the brushed bracelet. This center link here is kind of raised a little bit. It's a fantastic oyster bracelet, incredibly comfortable, especially since the watch sits so flat on the wrist. Very comfortable to wear. Fantastic clasp, real nice snapping action there. The link construction is a pin and collar with the actual collar in the middle link. It's if you see on the inside of the bracelet here, it does not have the arrows that you would expect to tell you which way to push the pin out. That is because it's bidirectional. You can push it out either direction. It was a real pain to size because of how stiff the link pin was to get out. I had to get my needle nose pliers and I had to really pull. I actually took it to a watch shop first because I didn't want to break it after just trying a little and seeing how stiff it was. You know, and the girl there was like, you know, listen, man, I'm not strong enough to get these pins out. You know, we're gonna have to wait, leave it with us overnight. You know, and some guy can do it tomorrow. Of course, I was not about to leave a new watch there overnight, so I just went home and yanked it myself. But it was pretty tough. But that actually reassures me that these pins are not just going to slip out. They're not just going to get slippery and slide out of there, because it took quite a bit of pressure to get them out in the first place. So let me see what else about this. I think that's all. Let me know what you guys think. And to me, I was kind of wanting an Anadigi watch, you know, tempted by the Omega, tempted by, you know, various Breitlings. To me, this really scratches that itch. Seeing this and having read reviews of people who have owned both this model and, you know, your Aerospace, your, you know, X33, this seems to be really the best value Anadigi on the market. I got mine for around 600, just under 600 used, you know, mint condition used. The MSRP on it is like 1,400, which honestly I can see why they would charge that, because the Tag Aqua Racer is you know, at least double that MSRP. And you know, it's basically the same movement. So fantastic quartz, fantastic build quality, detailing, very comfortable to wear. Has not left my wrist since I got it, and you know, is really challenging a lot of my mechanicals in terms of you know, what I grab when I reach for a watch in the morning. So thanks. Here's that was my video impressions, and you know, I'll post a text review as well to supplement it, but that should really cover it.